going to go ahead and call the meeting of the Parks Authority Board for Monday, September 28th to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Member Smith?
Present.
Member Webb?
Present.
Member Wadsworth?
Present.
Member Sellers? President Sassani?
Here.
Member Gill?
Here.
Member Julius?
Here.
Member Owen?
Here.
Member Samuel?
Here.
Let the record show 8 members are present, 1 is absent.
All right, next up, approval of agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Have motion second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Approval of minutes from August 24th.
Motion to approve August 24th, 2015 minutes.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of claims. $41,156.56.
I didn't realize that these claims weren't, when we approve these claims here, they're not in our council, so I didn't get a chance to go in and go over these, but Paul, I did have a question on, where's it at? The pyrotechnics display for Steamboat Days at 1500.
Yes.
That was on the stage with the Crashers, correct? I guess my concern is when you're coming off of a wood deck, can we just check just to make sure with, I was on side stage when those were going off. Are you sure, being on river stage, which we allow no smoking, those are safe, I'm assuming, are they safe?
We spoke to a mirror, and the mirror spoke to the insurance company.
Okay.
They were fine with it.
Okay, that's fine.
The insurance was fine with it. They didn't say they was safe. There's a little difference.
I had a question.
I just thought it was an expense, we putting
Yeah.
river stage in.
I had a question on my page 2. It's under the 2004 fund, under the sewer bill, $5,000, $5,348. And it says for Middle Road. Is that the pool?
It is the aquatic center, and we checked into that. It was originally 10,000, and we had them check it, and we have a meter up there now, turned in the meter reading, and they reduced it to 5,000 for the use.
And do you think that's more than toilets? And I mean, it's filling the pool and stuff. Because if so, we need to consider maybe metering that, or I don't know. I don't remember I don't think it's that expensive every month, is it, Paul?
No, it's not.
Is that based on just filling the water up and they charge you for the water?
That's correct.
I guess ultimately, whenever we drain it, it'll go into the sewer, won't it?
Yes.
Ultimately.
Right.
Okay.
What's the Papa John's JAC concession pizzas? What is that?
The JAC is the Jeff Aquatic Center, and we have a contract. Part of our sponsorship with Papa John's is to sell their products. So we purchase the pizzas from the local Papa John's and resell it. So what it doesn't show in there is the profit we made on the sale of Papa John's. It's not,
Make a motion to approve claims as presented.
Second. I'm going to abstain.
A motion and second to approve the claims. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we have 1 abstention. Old business, aquatic sign.
A couple meetings back, we talked about the aquatic sign that we put out to bid, and there were a couple of questions on whether it passed the local ordinance and whether it was the correct sizing. So we went back to Shane Corbin in Planning and Zoning, and he did let me know that the sign was too tall as it was originally quoted. We had to reduce that to 4 foot, has to be 4 foot or smaller. So the sign has been reduced to 48 inches tall by 120 inches wide. The second thing was that the distance between the sign and the residence was it was too close to a residence. So we worked that out with planning and zoning. If we build or construct some type of barrier between the house and the sign, like a hedge or trees, that would pass their ordinance. So we are planning on doing both of those things. I have the revised quotes, and I'd like to ask, well, I can give you the totals of those quotes, excuse me. The quote from S&K Sign was $24,927. The quote from Roof is $25,300, and Signorama was $24,407.78. With your approval, I'd like to go ahead and move forward on this and go with S&K Signs. They're a couple $100 more than the Signorama, but we have a relationship with S&K. They do a lot of business with the city of Jeff, and we do a lot of business with S&K, and I'd like to move forward with that and use funds from the open space fund to pay for that.
Are they local?
Yes, well, they're Clarksville.
What was it, cheap? 24,000?
24,000 was the Signorama, 24,407, and S&K was 24,927. So it's about $500 difference.
Was there an existing sign there? I thought there was something like grandfathered in when the sign ordinance came in. Is it because the sign's too close to a resident, or is it too tall, you say?
I'm not understanding the question. Yeah,
The sign's too tall?
no, it originally was when I came 2 months ago. Excuse me.
We need it to comply with our sign ordinance that we just
For the new
changed.
sign.
For the new sign.
New sign.
Yes.
There is a sign present.
Remember we did the sign ordinance?
But we mentioned grandfathered in. I remember when that sign ordinance came in, or something like grandfathered in, y'all had to move the sign or something? And now
The sign's in pretty rough shape, that's why we're replacing.
Right, that's why it's being replaced. It's the old
Replacement
manual
would not
type
be.
lettering.
A replacement would not be grandfathered in. Right.
You know, I remember we talked with Shane, when I asked him when we approved that sign ordinance, I said, is everything that's already in play grandfathered in? We didn't have to change it.
That means existing signs. We wouldn't make them go and change their
Anytime they go to a new
signs.
sign, someone puts a new facade on it.
Yes, the grandfather clause goes away, and we have to conform.
You have to conform with the new ordinance.
Cost ourselves 24,000.
Well,
We don't have to change it.
Paul, we need to change, I rode by there over the weekend, it says July 20th, something
Yes.
happened. We need to, even if you pull all the signs off.
Yeah, I know, all the lettering needs to be removed, I agree.
What it is, it's a marquee sign where you have to go manually put the letters up, and what Parks Department wanted to do is have it so it's a LED, but to conform with the LED sign, it has to be not too big, and, like, it can only change once an hour or something like that. It can't be
Yeah.
flashy. So it still would have cost, I don't know what it would cost if you didn't get an LED.
There are other problems with the existing sign too. The electric doesn't work, the lighting doesn't work inside of the box, and when you lift up the lid, you have to lift it up around the bushes. It's just very difficult to deal with, plus the lighting is broken. So we talked about replacing it with something more up to date, and the fact that it's going to be a lot easier for us to replace. We could do the changing of the message from our office and not have to go out to the site and remove letters and put new letters on.
Does the electric power we have there, is that adequate to supply the new sign?
It is, yeah. I talked to Jeff Johnson, and he's good with everything.
Is that lighting broken because it's older?
Richard will be happy.
I don't think it's been vandalized. It's just old. It's the original sign.
Paul, is the money
Richard.
in the open space, or do we have to appropriate money?
It is in the open space. There's money to move from open space to pay for this.
How quick will they do that?
He'll order it tomorrow, and it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to get in.
Guess I'll entertain a motion if, acceptable or not acceptable.
I'll make a motion to accept the quote from S&K for the $24,927.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go ahead and accept the bid from, the quote, from S&K Sign for $24,927. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is here a place to sign that says $25,927, but we get a $1,000 credit to remove the old sign, so their bid will be $24,927.
All right, next up, ARC Companies, Big Four Hotel Project.
Yes, Eric Goodman's here to
And
speak.
Eric, is that what you signed in here for?
I did.
Okay. So we don't need you for public comment. You're on the agenda, so.
Excellent.
Great, because that way you have more time to tell us about your great project and what you need from us.
Excellent. So just hang tight then?
Yep.
Thank you.
You can go ahead, yeah.
Great. Members of the board, I'm Eric Goodman with ARC Companies, Vice President of Development. I hope to present a fairly simple matter tonight. We are proposing a 93-room upper mid-scale hotel with a global brand for the Rose Hill property that was previously planned for condominiums and retail space. We changed our plans after there was a change in plans by the Redevelopment Commission for another condo development, so we looked at a higher and better use. We did a third-party economic and feasibility study for a hotel that came back positive for the market, and that led us down the path of a site development plan and a request to gain a use variance for the hotel because the downtown commercial zoning does not allow for a hotel, strangely enough. During our research and site planning, if you go to the second page in the packet, and I apologize for the page numbering, all of this coordinates with our presentation to the Planning Commission and BZA tomorrow, but you'll notice the plant material is mostly on our property and we are meeting the code in that fashion. However, there are a few trees that we need to plant off-site, and since we're adjacent to the park property, we thought it would be prudent to request a variance to do so. The reason for this plant screen is because it's adjacent to the proposed parking lot, and when we had originally proposed our plan, we placed it in an existing 10-foot alley space. Public Works, I met with Andy Crouch, who told me that we would have to vacate the right-of-way, and that was going to be a fairly lengthy process to do that. In order for us to keep our franchise approval, we would like to move forward and request this variance for the plant material and shift the plant material just to the south of the existing alley. So on the third page, it shows the plant material that we're suggesting along the property boundary, which are red maples, some larger grasses, some evergreen shrubs, some Norway spruces for a nice screen, and then also some emerald green arborvitae and some smaller grasses. The next page just shows the support that we've gathered on this project over the last couple of months. We've met with the neighborhood, or the Rose Hill Neighborhood Association, who gave us a letter of approval for our plans. We had several meetings with them. And then we went down to all of the merchants on Spring Street, got all of their signatures, and then we went to as many houses that we could speak to and got their signatures as well.
Can I add something to that?
Please.
I just wanted to bring up, because you remember we had a situation before where they said they talked to the neighborhood. I have gotten numerous calls on this because they wanted me to publicly thank you, that they really appreciate all the meetings that you've had with them. You've taken the time, you explained everything, and they were all in support of the project, but they just want to express that gratitude because they said they wished everybody were that easy to work with, and really they were so inclusive in this whole project that they really appreciated it.
Excellent, thank you.
I'll say too, I went to all but one of the meetings with all of the neighbors, and they did accommodate some of the cosmetic changes that the neighbors wanted, and it does make a project go easier. You know, maybe not for you guys.
We're okay. We've got over 53 signatures, and I believe we've got the support that we need, and we'll find out tomorrow, but we plan to be here with our global hotel representative, our hotel operator who's out of Indianapolis, and will partner with us so it will remain a locally owned project, and we're proud of that fact.
You will be maintaining this?
We will maintain the landscaping, yes, unless you would like to do it, but
You don't want us.
We got a letter, we got a letter to put in the file.
Let's call first.
Your approval tonight, or assuming that you're going to approve it, subject to the written agreement.
Absolutely.
That you all will provide the maintenance of landscape.
Eric, let me ask a question.
please.
On the front page you gave us, the red dotted line that's on the Colston Park property, that is where you wanted to do the landscaping?
That's correct. Yep, that's just indicating where the proposed landscape is
And what
located.
will happen, I'm just curious, whenever Colston Park, something develops or happens at Colston Park, potentially that will be coming back out. Potentially.
It could. It
I
could.
I wouldn't want to tie the new developer's hands, no matter who it is, to say, oh, you can't go into the landscaping there.
And we
That's on the
we have
property.
Right, that's what I'm just kind of acknowledging that fact, making sure I understand it correctly.
we've thought about that as planners also. We actually laid out what we thought would be some reasonable building configurations to determine what would happen to that landscaping. It will most likely stay intact with the exception along the frontage because most likely the buildings will be pushed up along the street edge, just like we're doing with the hotel. So any impact would be minimal, and again, it will provide its use as a screen.
What does the motion need to be?
I think the motion would be, because I think we need to put this drawing into the record, because also page 2 looks like it has a little bit more detail as far as the location rather than just the red dot line, right there.
Correct.
It shows a little more specific.
Absolutely.
Of the area where it makes sense. So anyway, I think the motion would be to approve the landscaping on Colton Park property pursuant to the drawings that are submitted before us tonight, subject to a written letter where the developer agrees that they will maintain the landscaping on Colton Park.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion, a second, as described by our attorney.
Did you get that? Are you good?
Yeah, it's recorded.
Okay.
All right, and for the landscaping and for the developer to maintain that landscaping. And any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you all very much for your comments and your cooperation. Also, would it be okay for me to maybe get a letter from Mr. Lewis that I can show tomorrow evening? I'm sure this will come up since we are proposing a variance or waiver for the BZA and
Well,
the
the president
PC.
of Parks will be there too.
Excellent.
You want to do that?
No, I'm in IAC.
Okay, I'll be there to verify it, but
Great.
Yeah, that's what you need.
Just something for our file would be fantastic. And then, again, of course, we'll have the written agreement also that Jake Elder will prepare. Thank you all again very much.
Thank you, Eric.
next up, city partnership. City partnership issues. What's this side? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
We spoke about this a couple months ago at our last meeting. It was too short for us to go into detail, but hopefully all of you have received the emails that I sent and forwarded from Dave Simpson regarding the in-kind sponsorships and have had a chance to look those over and maybe even have come up with some ideas on how we can move forward on this. I have to reiterate that that I feel like some, if not all, percentage of sponsorship commission should be given. There's a lot of time that's being put into this. As much, if not more, time goes into this as goes into a cash donation. An example that I have is Lowe's. Dave sat down with Lowe's and has discussed sponsorships in the coming fall. Part of their sponsorship deal, they would like to donate holiday decoration, Christmas trees, lighting, and some other holiday decorations. And these are decorations that we would have to go out and purchase for the upcoming Christmas and holiday season. It's not like they're giving us something we wouldn't already be paying for. We spent about $2,000 out of our budget last year for holiday lighting and decorations for downtown Main Street and Water Park. And we'll be spending as much, if not more, this year. We'd like to do some decorating in Big Four Park this year, if we can, if we have the money for it. So anyway, just an example. I feel like that some consideration should be given for this. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. If not, if you're ready to talk about it or make a decision, we can do that too.
Let me add just a little more background. Right now, when it's David Simpson, when he goes out and gets a cash donation for the city, he gets 17% commission. And right now, when he gets an in-kind donation, he gets 0. And that was put in the contract, and we can give the history about it. I think it was put in the contract on purpose by some members. And then, but the question is there a value of in-kind? Can you manage it, and should it be paid the same commission? So I think what we need to decide is there value in it, and is there a way to manage it, and then should we pay a commission? And if it doesn't have to be 17%, could be half as much, could be 7-8%, could be we could stick with 0. But I think we need to give clear direction to David and to our Parks Department. So with that, I'll open the floor for discussion.
Just to add to that, you said that he didn't get nothing. He has been getting 17% for in-kind.
But
that raised the flag to me, saying that violates the contract because it's all for paid sponsorship. So I don't want y'all to think he hasn't been getting anything. He has been getting 17% on the in-kind.
He did for some of it, but I think there's some outstanding still, and we've stopped paying him because it wasn't a contract.
Right, I have 2 outstanding here for in-kind that have been submitted but held until your all's decision is made.
I have a couple questions. First question is for Scott. Have we opened ourselves up by allowing this for so long, or for forever, however many times he's been paid for in kind? Have we set a precedent in any way for him to come and say, hey, they owe me for this. They decided they don't, but they've been paying me.
Well, I don't think so, because I don't
Okay.
think there's a meeting of the minds on the contract that allowed it.
Okay.
So I don't think that came for specific approval by this board to allow that. We
Right.
allowed somewhere else.
Well, we approved the claims,
Yeah.
so
But
this
the
board did
I don't
approve
think
it.
Presented to us where, at that time, that we understood it was in-kind versus
Okay.
cash. So there was not specific knowledge that we
Okay.
that. I don't think it's a precedent.
Okay.
My opinion, rather than it's just a contract, whatever decision you make needs to be put in the form of a contract rather than
Right.
just a vote. I know you said maybe pressing for a decision tonight. In my opinion, I think there should be a group where less than a majority to meet, kind of like a negotiating committee, to sit down to negotiate this issue with Mr. Simpson.
Well, I've got-
Or, because it needs to be reduced to contractual language rather than making a snap decision tonight. That's just my opinion.
Can I say there was a meeting with 4 people, and there was no consensus? Everybody was at a different place.
Okay.
I mean, there could be, we could bring some more people in,
I know that.
but there was
Scott,
not,
This is-
is
my
that fair?
Yeah, but my concern, and I've been very vocal about it, we're operating totally on the trust system because in those claims that I did see, I did not realize that these claims, and we approved here, we didn't see them, and they didn't differentiate on our claims list, if it's in kind or what. I didn't know there was difference until I saw the actual claims. Well, when I saw the actual claims, if it says an in-kind service, now if I saw an in-kind service of Lowe's where it put the value of every little thing, to me that's validated. But to me, there's too much of a trust system here with a city this large for the way that, if we can come to some sort of agreement there
I don't
to make
disagree,
it.
but that's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, I don't
You
see
make
it as
tonight,
a-
I think that has to be negotiated, when you lock it down in contractual language, how that is somehow validated, the backup, that this is the value of the in-kind, and that needs to be talked about, if that's the direction you're going to go. But I think it needs to be very specific, rather than just trusting
And I think it
one
needs,
source that's undocumented.
I think if we
So-
go in that direction, I'd be fine with getting another small group together, trying to work out the details, if the board wants to go in that direction.
So I think you should I think a small group should get together and decide how it's managed, how you manage your distinguishing value of in-kind. But I just want to, throw out there that I do think we owe something for in-kind donations, but I don't think that it's 17%, because there is value in an in-kind donation. There is value in Lowe's saying, we're going to give you Christmas decorations, but you can't say that that's necessarily that's not always going to save us money, because we weren't going to spend more money on Christmas decorations, if they weren't going to give them to us. So that's not money really saved, but it is something that we're gaining. So I think we should consider some reimbursement for that, or for some commission for that, but I don't think it should be 17%. So I would,
So can we get some consensus tonight on what percent that might be, and then let the small group work out the details?
Well, you gotta figure those stores got markup. They're probably marking up 50, 40%. I wouldn't have a problem paying even 50% of the 17 on the in-kind donation.
The problem with the in-kind service is if there was, in the claim, I think it was $15,000. We don't normally pay retail for stuff. I mean, we go out, we buy something, we're going to shake the tree and try to get the best deal. We're paying a percentage based on retail, okay? I know we can't always do that, but at least, so I think I agree with Steve. 17's a little much. I think 50% on in-kind services. I also agree with Lisa in that I'd like a little more detailed breakdown of what that may be. I don't know, how you would word that, but if we're giving 50% on in-kind services, for example, one of the claims was for $10,000. I think $5,000 was we paid out, and $5,000 was in-kind services. On that $5,000, we pay $5,000 on what we paid out. We pay 17%. On the $5,000 in-kind services, we pay 50%. But on that in-kind services, I think a little more detail of something.
You're saying 50% of the 17?
Of the 17.
Right.
Half,
So-
half, right.
Well, around that.
9 or 10%.
Okay, 9 to 12.
Lisa, can I,
10?
Because whatever, I'm telling,
are you guys
this
seeing
is what the discussion we had that week.
the copy of the invoice here?
Smaller
The
group.
back page has a copy from the vendor showing what discount or what in-kind donation. Are you not seeing that? Okay. Well, I think what you're asking
All
for,
I would say,
Which is
I think they're starting it now since I had that conversation with you and Sarah, but no,
But
what
if
we
they
would say,
charge
there was no description
10,000,
or anything.
5,000
This is
paid.
all that would be
We
there.
paid for 5, we
The
got
claim,
5 in-kind.
and then we would have this
5,000,
spoken on
they
the
would
river
get the
1,000,
17.
and then it would be
The other 5, they
his
would get
thing.
50%.
I think
or
if
whatever
we
decide.
add to this, the back page that shows the bill from the vendor and where the discount's being taken, that might,
I think,
It's gonna
if
work
the
out.
one of the taxpayer walks in and says, hey, I heard he's making a lot of money, I want to see, for any reason, any of those claims, but there has got to be some validation of what the value of that in-kind.
right.
You'll be part of a small group.
State Board of Council. You don't have
It's all Mike.
the value, you're paying for it based upon.
And Matt.
So,
That wasn't in the-
I didn't say Matt, I didn't say that.
I thought I saw you raise your hand.
Your hand did go up, but
It did.
I thought a small group already met.
It did, but it didn't get
All
very
four of
far.
us were all 4 different opinions.
This
So-
one said 0.
You know, this
Yeah, I
one,
understand.
This one said 0 most of the time. Nathan
I
was
see
back
some
and forth,
value.
he had
I
to
see
think
some
about it.
So-
I said half.
I said 0, but I'm open-minded, you've got to convince me.
Louis, I'll make a motion to approve 10% for the in-kind services, with the understanding that the small group can work out the process and the validation and all that.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second that the in-kind donations, we would pay 10% of the in-kind donation.
Which is more than 50%.
Giving, yeah. You're not gonna be a
It's-
salesman for it.
And
It's
so-
generous.
And it's,
I'm just getting it on the table so we can
yeah.
hammer it out.
With understanding that a small group would work out the details on how to document the in-kinds are proper and that, that they're enough detail to know that they're of value to the city. Any other discussion with that? All those in favor?
I'm abstaining from that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
So, question.
Matt, would you like to be in small group?
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
He's not committing nothing.
So a small group is going to get together and discuss how to manage this and what it should look like, what a process looks like. And then we're going to offer a new contract to Mr. Simpson,
I think it would have to.
Amendment.
I think it would have to be an amendment to the contract.
an amendment to the contract.
Yeah, if
So,
we're gonna pay it, State Board of Council. will
so will
decide.
that- so does that will need to be approved here before
Yeah,
it's
it'd have to come back
offered?
As far as the contract, yeah, the amendment to the contract.
So then, are we, from whenever we stopped paying in kind, until a new contract is signed, we're not going to pay those in kinds, right? The invoices that are being
No, because,
held,
right.
That's my
Well, that's
understanding.
my-
Until we
that's-
approve the new contract.
Yeah.
You have to.
are we going to honor 10% of what he is invoicing us for?
I think that would be the small group's decision.
Decision.
I think you should, but I think, yeah.
Okay.
But I
Retroactive
think
back.
that should be considered, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's
The small group will
Work out the
work out the
details.
details and bring an amendment to the board.
Can you include me in the group?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I want to run it by the language of State Board of Accounts.
Sure.
Kind of raises some flag.
Okay.
And to me, it really seems like Mike Smith wants to be in a small group. Lisa wants to be in a small group. I think Matt wants to be in a small group.
I
haven't
didn't
got a
volunteer,
commitment.
I
I think
got
it's a
thrown
simple-
in,
I
but
think
that's
it's simple.
fine, because
Steve
I've
Webb
been
probably wants to be
almost
on
vocal
it.
about it.
You want to do it again?
You're
don't
lucky you
you?
got 10% for me.
I'll get 4 people together, so.
Nathan made the motion.
Thank you.
Just say yes when I make that,
Because
when
I
I
like
give
you
you
that much.
Nathan made the motion.
I would also just comment that, we get into this issue because we're doing percentages. And the Association of Fundraising Professionals, if you go to their website, it recommends not doing this. And I understand why we're doing it, but I would just say for the future, we should consider if we're really needing this person to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to help with our parks, we ought to consider hiring a person for that. And then it does not put that person in an awkward spot when the business says, now, how are you being paid? Are you getting paid commission? Because I know he's been asked that, and it's put him in an awkward spot. And he agrees that it probably should be an employee. But at the point we get it to where we know we need to raise this large amount of money, I think the city will come out ahead anyway.
What's the sunset on the contract?
You hire an employee, they ain't gonna get taxed.
Well, when,
I think it's annual.
It was a 2 or 3 year.
I thought it was 3 years.
if we amend that, can we put a language in there that if at one point, like this could be decided next year, we may want to make this an employee position. Can we go ahead and put that amendment in the contract as well, just so we're not obligated for 3 years to?
Well, we're not, it's a 2-year contract.
Or
Yes,
2
there's
years?
only one more year to go, I guess.
I would leave it.
But yeah, you can amend any time though if you want. I mean, you can amend a contract anytime you want. As long as the other side agrees to it. The other side does not have to agree to it.
He probably wouldn't agree to that because
He'd lose
he's not
money.
guaranteed that he's going to be the
But
employee.
he will agree to it, or he won't get his pay for his in-kind
She's talking about
donations.
the time, changing the time.
No, I know.
Looking at arms.
But he will agree. He will agree because he wants his in-kind.
I think that
We'll get an email.
when we made this contract happen, there was an ongoing debate if it should be an employee or not. And in the past, we have had an employee who did this, and it was, I'd say, relatively successful as being an employee. But we decided to do it with a contract, and that's what we're doing right now. I think we'll, next council, next Parks Authority, we'll revisit this as an employee. In the meantime, I'll be contacting some of you guys for a small group, and we'll work out the details. Okay, with that, we're going to move on. New business, it says none, but okay, I'll keep it that way, I guess. Next up, director's report, because there's some, I guess, old business in a way regarding the Worley Athletic Building that we're considering today, but we'll follow the agenda as is. So, director's report, Sandy Knott, advisory report.
Thank you. We had our Parks Authority Advisory meeting on September the, I'm sorry, I left my note. Oh, the wrong sheet of paper. On September the 10th, of course, we all know that the Aquatic Center has closed for the season, and as has always been in the past few years, they ended with the goldfish dip and the doggy dip on September the 12th. And Nikki does a good job with Ken Ellis Center as well, working with our senior citizens. I'm sorry.
What is the goldfish dip?
They release goldfish into the pool, and then the kids go in and catch goldfish.
It's the baby pool, the
It's-
zero depth
okay.
is what we call it, not the regular.
I guess I've never attended one. They get a little plastic bag to do this, or do they have little dip nets?
I'm sorry?
I was just curious, in the water, they put it directly in the water.
Not in the baby pool, at that time, the chlorine's taken out of it, so.
We're going to catch dead fish.
So the kids get to keep the goldfish? or-
Right, they get a
Okay.
cup and a bag, and their mom gets to help them, and they cup the fish out, pour it in the bag.
Was it well attended?
This year it wasn't, no,
It wasn't.
it wasn't well attended.
The weather was crazy this year for the pool.
Yeah, yeah, we
And,
had
yeah.
a couple thousand fish and 10 or 15 kids.
Wow.
What did you do with all the fish?
Oh, my God. I was in there dipping.
Don't tell me the geese came back.
That's why we have a geese problem.
There's a
approved there.
Don't print
Sorry, I had to say it, Sandy. I didn't know that. This is funny. One thing we did discuss with the concessions at the aquatic center, and we kind of weighed the pros and cons of maybe instead of concession stand having vending machines, and we didn't think that was such a good idea. So,
Well, I think I was there, right?
yeah, you were there. Thank you for attending.
There was a lot of discussion that they really didn't know, according to the board, the concession, how to do that at the aquatic. They like different options, but I think they're pretty much, unless I refresh my memory, they're pretty much in agreement that at the field house, that vending machines down there would be perfectly, because I think you all attend those things down there, but they had some concerns for the ball field and for the aquatic center. So I just wanted to relay that
Thanks.
to you all.
Yeah, that was been discussed, and we'll go further with it. We had a discussion about Teddy Throckmorton Park and the sign there, his signage area right there at one of the corners. We felt like we needed to spruce it up a little bit. And Paul's looking into maybe putting some fall flowers there, and there's a couple shrubs. And at one time, Ted had planted an azalea bush that someone had given for his wife's funeral, and he planted that there, and it's gone now. So we've talked about putting in another azalea bush. So do you have anything to add to that right now?
No, that's exactly what we're going to do, and some other plants as well.
And on that subject, Teddy, they did bring up, I think, well, it hasn't yet, but some sort of a good trip, even though they named a park, but a plaque down there, and one of them dogs says, "I got my dog."
Every meeting, every parks meeting, he always asks Paul about his
What about my
dog.
dog? What about
So, yeah.
Say, Owen,
So we
when them
put a
knocks gonna be
plaque on
done?
there in memory of this dog, in memory of.
And he's been with the parks for as long as I can remember. I know when we were working on fundraising for Bob Hedge, and the Parks Committee was 5 or 6 people at that time. And he worked really hard with us from Bob Hedge as well. We have 12 teams participating in the men's fall basketball on Tuesdays and Thursday nights at the field house. Our youth football leagues have started on September 13th at Worley Athletic Complex. They play on the turf field. And this year we didn't have very many kids sign up, and so there really weren't enough teams for them to have competition. So they're going to be competing with Clarksville and New Albany teams as well. Charleston. Okay. Fall softball leagues are being played at Vissing, and on Tuesdays, men's league, there's 16 teams. Thursday co-ed league, there are 8 teams, and Friday night men's league, there are 8 teams. And the citizens of Jeffersonville have been invited to come to Market and Mulberry Street tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Lincoln Crum is going to have a drone in the air taking pictures of the new Welcome to Jeffersonville artwork atop the one little building there on the flood wall. And they want as many people there so they can wave at the drone to be welcoming people to Jeffersonville. That is all. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Well, Nathan, you know why I won't be there, but I sent
With
out
Ted
an email.
Throckmorton's passing, do we have an opening in the for the advisory board, and how are we going to?
Well, we do. That appointment was
mayor's.
selected by the mayor.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So I've been talking with the mayor, and we're going to work something out next month.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sandy.
All right, next up, Matt Gullo, Worley Athletic Report regarding the building.
Evening, everybody. Just bringing to your attention that we're wrapping up all the drawings. We'd like to put the drawings out for bid this coming month. Right now, I'm going to the Plan Commission tomorrow night to get the approval for a revised development plan that was originally approved for the larger building, so we're reducing the scale of that, so we thought it was a good idea to go back to the Plan Commission and get that approval. And we're also going to the Drainage Board during the bidding, if that's approved. So we get approved for the revised building footprint and new parking, and that will be approved by the Drainage Board, so everything's all checks off and all the boards and everything. Right now, I'm just asking permission to go up for bids before your next meeting and receive bids in November before your next meeting there.
So, subject to the approval of Drainage Board and Planning and Zoning Commission, and once you finish all the details of your drawing, you'd like to go ahead and get it out to bid, and you think that would happen about when? If the board would approve
We're
the bid out.
we're looking mid to late October.
And then how long before the bids come back and all that? What's the process?
It's a 4-week bid cycle.
So it'll be in like November, mid or late November meeting, I guess?
Yep, exactly.
There haven't been any significant changes, it's just the construction documents are now being completed. Is that
That's
right?
correct. We're doing all the technical drawings right now. Some of our consultants, electrical consultant, civil consultant, and actually the structural consultant that we're using on this building, as you well know, that the construction industry is booming right now, so it's just taking a little bit longer for us. We apologize. But we will be getting this out on the schedule that was asked, to make sure we do that.
When you send it out to bid, can you get bids for having an elevator versus not having an elevator?
An addendum, yeah.
Type of things.
Right. Yeah, before we put anything out for bid, I think I'd like to get a small group together to make sure that all the alternates that are selected are known before that. Right now, we're just asking permission to go out for bids, though, so we don't have to wait another month.
I'll make that motion that Scott, I have to word it contingent upon approval from planning and zoning and drainage. What he said.
Second. Okay, we have motion second to allow the bids to go out for the building for the Worley Athletic Complex building, subject to the drainage and the planning and zoning approval. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All right. Thank you very much.
So we'll get another small group meeting to work out some of the alternate.
Can you have the same ones and do it at the same meeting?
Okay, I think we just have a volunteer.
No, that's not a volunteer.
That's just a
That's
request.
not-
You can get 3 more. All right.
Having at lunch.
I wouldn't
Thank
like it
you,
to
Matt.
be in the group so that food would be involved.
Okay, I just have a few things to go over here with you, some things going on at the, in the Parks Department. First of all, the netting project up at Worley is underway. The nets have been ordered, and the construction team at AML will mobilize on site on October 17th. They'll do some preliminary work, and the netting should be in sometime that week. The whole process will take about 2 months. It's due to be complete around December 14th, and that's with the poles set into the carpet. They'll have to peel back the carpet, set the poles, and then come attach all the netting. So it's about a 2-month project, but around December 14th, I think, is the date of completion. Down at the River Stage, the season is over. Had a very successful season this year. We're working on some house lighting on the River Stage, on the stage itself. There are can lights, about 50 of them on the stage, but most of them don't work, so we don't use that lighting. So we are hiring someone to come in and do the work and purchasing some new lights for the house. And that should be worked on the next 4 to 6 weeks. The lights were ordered, I think, Friday, if I'm not mistaken, and take about 4 weeks to get those in. So as soon as they come, excuse me, two weeks to come in. As soon as they come in, Jeff Johnson will get started on the installation.
Where are you going to moor it? Where's the river stage going to be going?
It'll go back where it was last year up in Utica. We have a company, Mount Vernon Barge Services, that we work with that does the storing of the river stage. And plus, we're talking about doing some painting and some other work on it, so they can dry dock it up there, and we can send our guys up to do some work on it. But we'd like to get the lights in while it's still down river here. Let's see.
I have a question.
Sure.
Or maybe Steve, either of you, but does ACL have a dry dock place?
Yeah, they pulled the Bell of Louisville out there, yeah.
What, we talk about in-kind gifts. If we talk to ACL and ask them if they would dry dock it for us, and we will put them on the banner of supporting us, I would save us a ton of money.
Huge.
And I mean, ACL, when we first got it, I know I'd contacted them, and they kept it dry dock. I don't know what they did with it. They moved it for us and didn't charge us anything the first year. After that, I don't know what all's happened.
I hate that. Is that our barge, or we lease that?
It is ours. We own it.
Well, that's unfortunate, really, to be honest with you. How old is that barge? Yeah. Old. Yeah.
40s.
Yeah, because I think I know who owned that, but yeah. Yeah.
Even more unfortunate.
No comment.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
After you already made some comments.
Yeah, what Nathan said is a very good idea, though.
Okay, I will check with ACL.
Just one thing, Paul, just to remind, next year, or this summer, I want to get a rail in the front that can be removable, that we had talked about.
It's actually in right now.
Okay.
We've always had a rail for that front, but we don't put it in for reasons that we discussed. But I just had it installed before it goes back down river. It'll stay in until it comes out next season. And then we're going to work out the details with our human resources and our safety department on how we're going to handle it next year.
Can we get a first aid kit on there?
I think there is one on there, if I'm not mistaken.
You know where it's at.
And what's
Yeah, it's in the back room.
County Service Mount Vernon, I know they really want to get in the good public's eye, because they get a lot of criticism out there. Get Mount Vernon up for in-kind service too. Yeah, and that's the best place to moor that during Halloween.
Okay. So,
Mount
yeah,
Vernon.
wherever. I just know that's a perfect.
Yeah.
If they have the spot, they would probably do it, and then they could get their name on a banner and
Yeah.
the full year for the river stage.
Yeah, that Dave's, I hit Mount Vernon and ACL.
And another thing too, on the river side of that, there needs to be a panel put in between the deck and the barge, and that needs to be painted. It looks terrible.
Riverside, I'm sorry, where?
On the river side
Mhm.
of the barge.
What needs to be put on that side?
On the south side, the riverside part of it,
Uh-huh.
it needs to be painted because it's horrible looking.
Yeah, you're right. It is starting to
Where
peel.
the deck is and where the actual barge is, there's a big gap, and that needs to be filled in and painted too. Kind of dress it
Yeah,
up. It looks terrible.
I noticed that, I had a meeting with you that time, I brought that up, because when I was in the police academy class and out in the river patrol boat, they pulled up beside there, because they wanted to show me, look at here, looked like quite a bit of it was rotten and, or the gaps and all.
Doesn't take long for that wood to rot.
But this piece is, I don't think they've had a piece here, but at one time we talked about bringing a barge and flipping it around and putting that side towards the river so the guys could get to it. I don't know if they can even do that.
Okay.
That does need to be, the front of it looks nice, but the back of it needs to be dressed up, because we got speakers there, and now we're starting to have more boats
Yes.
listen to the music and stuff, okay, on the river. So we need to dress that up a little bit.
We will do that in the off-season. All right, and then the last thing I have is the next meeting is October 26th. That's the same night as our Halloween event, so I know it probably doesn't affect your all schedules. I can work around it. I didn't know if you wanted to move it to another day, move it earlier, like 5 or 5:30, or just leave it at 6 o'clock on the 26th. Our Halloween event will start around 7 o'clock.
You mean the Parks meeting will be the 26th of October?
That's the Parks Authority, next Parks Authority meeting, fourth Monday.
How about we leave it up to 5 o'clock?
5's good?
Is that okay?
I'm good with that. Thank you.
Speaking,
right, so Scott, can you
before you
advertise
go
that?
anywhere, Paul,
Yep.
how is trick or treat being handled? I saw a thing on the Parks Facebook page. Everything's going to be in Big Four Park?
Yes.
What's the event going to be?
What's the event going to be? We are going to fence in the entire park with an entrance and actually 2 entrances and 2 exits. On the Mulberry side, there'll be one, and on the Pearl Street side, there'll be an entrance. But the entire park will be snow fenced in, so there's only 2 ways in and 2 ways out, basically. And once they come in those entrances, they'll have to go clockwise. They can't go counterclockwise, so they'll all be flowing in one direction. We're going to do, last year we did it on spring, we had about 6 different stations. I think this year we're going to have at least 8 stations. One thing that we determined last year that we didn't do right is we didn't pass out enough candy at each station, and we had a lot of candy left over, which if you remember in years past, we've always run out of candy. So, I mean, it's not a bad thing that we had candy left over, but we had a lot of candy left over. So I think we're going to adjust the amount of candy we give out at each station, and then we'll have some other events going on. We'll have some music and some games, and SUP will be there, and maybe a bounce house or 2.
Are we doing is Coil doing with the trucks? Are they doing the candy this year?
They were not a part of that sponsorship this year. We went out to, part of our sponsorship, Dave went out to different sponsors and tried to sell packages. The holiday package was one where you sponsor a holiday package, you get the Halloween, you get Christmas, you get Easter as part of your package. And we sold a few of those, but Coil wasn't one of them that bought that package. Okay, 5 o'clock Parks Authority meeting on October 26th. And I thank you.
I see Paul Duckworth's here in attendance. Thank you for coming. Would you like to say a word or 2 about, I don't know, CCSA, soccer, really, anything?
Do you want to talk about the Rovers at all, or just want to leave that for later?
I was going to bring it up, but you can...
Okay, no, you can bring it up then. But CCSA's gone real well. We've got one more week. This weekend's the final week because of fall break being at the high schools. Well, the whole of Clark County's going on fall break. So final weekend this weekend. We've had no issues out there. Numbers are way up. As well as all the kids out there. The adult side has grown dramatically too. We had some park member attend and play one day.
I was sore for a couple of days after.
Yeah. But yeah. But we have another 40 over 50 that play on Sunday mornings. We also have the Greater Louisville Soccer League that's playing out there. Everything's going great. We haven't heard any complaints from neighbours. Parking hasn't been an issue. We've spaced the games out so there's less people on site at any one time. So we're making good use of the facility. The fields are looking great. We've had a couple of issues with the sprinklers, but Stemler's been out there pretty quick and fixed those. So overall, it's been a great season.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Parks Authority Attorney Report.
Nothing for tonight.
All right. Public comment, there's no one. Eric signed up, but that's because he wanted to talk about the landscaping. And then Parks Authority member comments, Mr. Smith.
Just a couple of things, Paul. We've installed irrigation on the river stage area. How comes we're not using that? It's irrigated. It's all dead. The irrigation.
I don't know we're not using it. I know it gets worn down a lot because of the Anchors Away program, the Zumba, the Jazzercise side.
But I mean, it's all from the Big Four. It's all brown. I would think if it got watered.
You're right. There is irrigation. If it's not being used.
I've never seen. I've just never seen it used. So. It might be too late in the season, but we should have kept that active, to keep that grass green and,
I agree with you, and if it hasn't been, then I'll take the fault for that.
Well, I don't know,
It was being irrigated regularly.
I've never seen it
But
used.
every year, at this time of year, the grass is worn down
Yeah.
because they really do the number on it
Yeah.
During those Anchors Away programs.
We talked a little bit about this the other day, and I think the consensus is we've lost quite a bit of money on our concessions, and I think the consensus is vending machines. I think we talked a little bit, and I think Sandy may have touched on that or somebody earlier about putting some vending machines in the field house. I think is doable, but I've talked to a couple parents in the band about if they would be interested in doing something, just open up a discussion about managing the aquatic center because I think we're losing too much money. I don't know what the answer is, but we can't continue to lose this kind of money. It's not $20,000. I've talked to them. I just threw it out there. There's just a discussion. I haven't got anywhere with it, but I did mention that. But it's whoever does it, however it's staggered, it's going to be a heck of a commitment. But they got an opportunity to make a lot of money. But we can't afford to lose this kind of money. It don't even make sense. I don't get it. But anyway, that's all.
Mr. Webb?
No comment?
Mr. Wadsworth?
No comment.
Ms. Gill?
I just wanted, because I think this is our first Parks Authority meeting since the passing of Teddy, and of course I attend those Parks, and I'm going to tell you what a wonderful group. I know Sandy participates a lot, but they really put in the time. I don't think people realize, well, they probably do, the time that serve on that board, that they go around every park, and Teddy was very vocal, and like Sandy said earlier, he was a huge part of our park system for many, many years, and I just want to acknowledge that again. I know we made comment of it in a city council meeting, but I just think it's fitting here. He was, you couldn't think of our parks without thinking of Teddy, so I just, God rest his soul, but put out there that his service was much appreciated to our parks, that's for sure. That's all I have.
Mr. Julius?
Just one thing, the reason that I abstained from the vote earlier, our company has always donated to Jeffersonville in many ways, all the way back to Rich Fissing. And when something like this comes up, I'm just going to abstain from it. I don't think I ought to have input in it, but we want to keep donating, and we want to keep being part of Jeffersonville. And as I say, we've probably donated to the city for 70 years. So, you know, I don't feel like I should stop donating, or our company should stop donating, but I surely don't want to have any kind of vote on how he should be compensated for something that I'm donating. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out.
Mr. Owen?
No.
Mr. Samuel?
Yes.
It's got a small
I went by
booklet.
Connie Selma Park today, and the sign is really faded out. I don't know if that's been brought up in the advisory board meeting, but
It has, and we do have a plan. We just did 4 of them.
Okay.
But we just couldn't afford to do all 30 parks at one time, so we're going to do 4 at a time. They're currently building 4 more of the framework for it. When that's done, we'll do 4 more.
And Ed Seward did the clear coating on the flood wall murals, and he told me about a product that they're going to work with you guys on to spray on our park signs, and it keeps, you can take the vandalism off really quick, and it makes them look much better. I don't know if he's done that yet, but I know he's going to work with you or your team on that.
S&K does apply a product to the signs.
Okay.
The reason why the signs are so faded now, no product was applied to those. Some of them are 16 years old, I guess, but I don't know whether it just wasn't done, an oversight, but every sign that we are now has this application on it.
Yeah, preventive maintenance goes a long way, so that's great. I'm glad to hear that. And Sandy mentioned about tomorrow night, the gathering at 6 o'clock down by the flood wall, the Welcome to Jeff. It appears that it's going to be stormy tomorrow, and so there's been some discussion already. We will know at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon if it's going to be on for tomorrow night. And if it's not for tomorrow night, it's going to be next Tuesday night at 6, so just a week in advance. So we'll get the word out on that, but I wanted to mention that. And the last comment I had, Paul, is it was mentioned that our football was way down. Did we do anything different? Did we not advertise? Or is it just that's the ebb and flow? Or do you know?
That's the trend, and maybe it is ebb and flow. You know, being involved with baseball for so long, there were years where a certain age group was down and other age groups were up. But across the board, we have 3 different age groups, and they were all down this year. We usually, last year we had over 100. We had around 80 to 85 this year. So we had enough kids to have 1 team in each division. We're part of USA Football, and they don't like you to break it down any less than 22 players per team. So you have enough to play both sides. And you know, we talked about, if we went down to 14 or 16 kids, they get to play more, and you can get more teams out of them. But the chance of injury is higher when you do that. So again, 1 team per division, but they'll be playing teams from the area, 3 or 4 different leagues.
Thank you. That's all I
Just a couple things. Nathan, you mentioned the sewer bills, and Lisa and I had a meeting today, so I'm going to bring this up, that if you remember, we through, I think the Board of Public Works put out a bid for
Honeywell.
well, it ended up being Honeywell, but for bids to look at, looking at our efficiency of all our buildings and lights and so forth, and Honeywell, I guess, it was the only bidder. So some of these issues regarding sewer and water and utility expenses and stuff, we're going to address that through the city council in the near future through Honeywell. And then Paul mentioned the Rovers. Nathan Pitcock, the owner of the Rovers, asked to have a meeting with Paul Northern, Paul Duckworth, myself. You were there too, or at least was anyone else there?
Ricky Romans.
Yep, Ricky Romans was there. And what he wanted to do was he's been very happy, obviously, at working or being based out of the Rovers, the developmental league, being at the turf field, and he wants to bring more of his younger kids there, high school age kids, a select team, kind of bring his club, Rovers, at least portion of it, to our facility, and he wanted some kind of commitment from us for the next 3 years for the rental of the turf field as well as some of the grass fields, which would affect CCSA, who owns the grass fields. I only bring this up because I'm not sure where it's going to go, but I mean, he was looking for 3 years, 4 years for $150,000, something like that, depending on the use of time. And we had concerns because really we don't have enough time to give him. When you add CCSA's use of the fields, we rent it to high school teams and select other select teams. Baseball, IUS plays there, and there's just it's kind of like, do we want to commit it to one organization or not? So it's just throwing it out there for discussion, just to let you know that there's been some time and discussion about that. I'm not sure where it's going to go, because it may not work for CCSA, because they need more than just the turf field. They need access to the other fields too.
So our turf field is highly successful.
It's used a lot. I mean, it's used it's used almost every day.
Every day. It's used every day.
And then there's a day or two that there's pickup games, kind of like it just established itself, and there's kids playing out there. There's adults playing there Sunday morning. I mean, it's played on all the time. So I mean, I just want to let you know though, there is interest in the turf field as well as the whole complex for even a club to move here. So with that, do you want to add anything more to that?
I just, if the building goes in, that's just going to build up more usability and more requests for people to come and try and use that facility. And of course, everybody wants to use the building, they want to use the turf field.
And he's also, but the discussion we had was about a partnership, because it was also what can he bring to Jeffersonville? Can they help put up lights, speaker systems, get sponsors? So I mean, there's a lot involved.
How much did that turf field cost? Approximate, do we know?
About $600,000.
Yeah, about $600,000 for the turf field itself.
And there was room for another one out there? You'd have to give up some other, I know. But
Yes, there's room for another one. Paul can answer this, but, I think the turf field rental is bringing in maybe $50,000 a year back in. And that, I'm assuming that will increase with the building, because now not middle schools, but high schools, Rock Creek, they had their first football game, their home field is...
Yeah, we are the home field for a high school football team. Did you know that? I didn't know that till this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that Friday nights, I guess?
Friday nights.
Yeah, they have, I think they've got 3 home games this year. They just started playing football. It's a great location for them. They love it. Their parents love it. So.
And really, in the small group we were talking about, that's exactly what we brought up. It's like, what does it cost to put another one of these out? I mean, obviously there's a need, there's a want. I mean, we do get some money back. It takes a while for it to pay for itself, and there's maintenance costs. So I don't know if we make the money back, but there's definitely a need and a want for turf access to the turf fields. That's all I have. Is there anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.